Hey guys, this is John Green, and welcome to today's crash course. So today we're going to be discussing the New England colonies. So to start off, we're going to talk about why New England became a thing and why they moved from the original England. So the New England colonies consist of Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and New Hampshire. The majority of people that moved to New England were Puritans or Protestants seeking religious freedom. Because England was in the bad economic state, they all moved here for religious freedom, to get more, to be more wealthy, and just for happiness and that in general.
Let's go to the thought bubble. John Winthrop founded Massachusetts Bay with Puritan views. Because it reflected these views, they weren't as open to other religious groups like Jews, and people like Roger Williams were banished and formed other colonies. Williams formed this colony where all people of all religions could live together without being prosecuted by the Puritans. Connecticut was founded by Thomas Hooker with the same premise. New Hampshire, led by Captain John Mason, was the first of the colonies to establish its own government and state constitution. That's pretty much the only thing you need to know about it. Sorry you're so boring, New Hampshire.
New England colonies understand liberty as, if I have land, I have freedom. So the majority of people moved to the New World or North America so they could gain this land. They would be more wealthy and they would have a more successful and happy life. So John Winthrop saw Puritans as a city on a hill. It was like the golden ideal of what they were supposed to be, how everybody was supposed to act, and everybody was to look up to them in that way, that they were the expectation. And part of this idealism was that if they did not live up to these expectations, they were, in the Puritans' eyes, betraying God, and that was not good at all. It would have bad effects on all of the colonies. Puritans also, as part of government, they did not like the church to be mixed with the state, but they wanted the ministers to only focus on the church. They separated secular and religious control so the ministers could focus mainly on the church and not having to worry about governmental issues that would affect the church. In their eyes, if you were not teaching the law of God and you were not teaching the Bible to younger people and to the next generation, you were not accomplishing anything in life because you were not spreading the word that they believed to be true. So part of the New England belief and the society, how society worked as a whole with New England and the colonies that were in New England was the social change with how marriages worked. They did not want marriage to be something that was forced upon or that they did not know each other. They wanted marriage to be between two people that loved each other, and it was a special thing between those two people. The stereotypical American view on Puritans was that they were extremely prude and conservative. And while they outlawed fornication and homosexuality compared to the people of their time, Puritans were explicit with their expressions on romantic love. It was even said that while publishing John Winthrop's journal, nearly 200 years later, the editors omitted certain parts for being too candid for the 1900s. Concerning their other beliefs, as stated before, Puritan work ethic and self-value can still be seen in America today. They did have a pretty good work ethic, and everything they did, although it was for God, you can see it in today's American society that everything we do is for our family and based on cultural beliefs and where we come from. Part of the Puritan, and as well as the majority of New England societies, the man was to lead the household, the man took care of the majority of things, and the man also taught the women things from the church, things from the Bible, but he also was the one who was bringing in more of the bread. He brought in more of the money, the food, everything else. So while they appreciated the woman in the relationship aspect, they also wanted the patriarchal society to be intact. One thing that would go against this, for example, is a very big controversial topic back then. So Anne Hutchinson was a very religious woman. She liked to teach people in her own household and teach them about the Word of God as the Puritans saw it. But while doing this, she ended up going to court and trying to be charged because women were not allowed to preach, they were not allowed to minister or teach the Word of God because the Puritans saw the man as that was the man's role in the relationship. A famous quote by her to represent her view from this was, "I have been guilty of wrong thinking," and that leads into the idea that the government cannot control the thought process, and that also ties into the Thomas Jefferson notes on the state of Virginia. They cannot control the train of thought, but they still charged her for wanting to preach what she believed to be true and wanting to spread awareness about, and she was still oppressed by the fact that she was a woman and that she was teaching and that she had some type of intellect within her. So now that we have the whole basis of what not only Puritans but the New England colonies saw the basis of liberty as, so now we can go into the balance between the individual and the community, as well as the concept of property rights seen by the colonies. So the balance between the individual and community was pretty thin, as in the individual was in charge of doing everything for God. The individual was viewed as a group that was reliant upon God. They could not live without serving Him. It was believed that any adult male with property had the right to vote and participate in government. If you were a woman, you were not allowed to vote or participate in the government. You had to be a male that owned land to participate in government affairs, to participate in the common society, and this moved on more and more towards the 18th century. Of course, now it's different. The male would be the one to teach and to minister to all the people, as said before, and this is also where Harvard was created. Harvard was created as a university to teach these men how to minister to people religiously. This is where they also valued education a lot. Even though they didn't give it towards the women as much, they did value it, and this is also, it's obviously still a big thing in America, as it is required by all states that your child or student or person attends school, and then later on you can go on to college. Yeah, that was a little bit extra. The Puritan belief that communities are formed by covenants produced by America's first democratic institution. This foreshadowed the democracy that we now have today, making the popular sovereignty a concept. They believed in personal, collective self-government and even had social contracts, such as the Mayflower Compact that we all know today and that we learned in about second grade. So if you don't know that, So after the Virginia House of Burgesses was established in 1619, more charters were made under it representing the democratic government, and this is kind of where we get our government from today. The self-governing perspective that they had with their churches can also be seen in American government. Now, geographically, what they had to do to make money, because that's why they came here, that's why most people come to America, the weather was not suitable for farming, so they had to make their money by just turning their cities into port areas where they would ship and trade things, exporting, importing things and goods to survive and to make money from. They also built a lot of their ships here in this area because it was the main area where they would ship out things. So that's all we have for today. Thank you to Crash Course producers, which are Cheval, Livy, Winston, Christina, and me, John Green. This foreshadowed the democracy that we now have today. America's first The Puritan belief that communities are formed by covenants.
Covenants? Can you say that from the beginning?
Okay, so are formed by such as the Mayflower Compact, further charters from the eastern colonies along the eastern side. So now, moving on from that, we'll move into the geographical side of things. We're gonna edit that part out, that doesn't sound good.